What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you've experienced? I spilled chocolate ice cream on my leg. I wiped it off and there was still a pale brown stain in the shape of the ice cream splotch. I told my mother, who said it was a birthmark. I will swear under oath that never before that moment did I have a birthmark there. My mother has a scar behind her knee from a cut. When I was a preteen, the exact same scar appeared on me in the exact same place. I swear it was never there before and I would have remembered being cut that deeply for sure. I was sitting in my office one day when my desk phone rings, and it is my under sheriff asking me to bring him all the reports, dispatch logs, any documentation ref to a specific. So I get it all together and start towards his office. I meet him in the hallway and hand him the paperwork. He asked what it was. I told him it's the documentation you asked for. He then swears he never asked me for it, that he had just arrived and had not called my office. He was on his way down the hall to ask me to get it together. My guess is a brain fart by him, or aliens. This didn't happen to me, but to my dad. He works for a heating and air conditioning company, so he often has to go out to people's houses to fix things. About 5 years ago he told me he had a bizarre dream where he went on a call to an elderly woman's house. He'd never seen the house or this woman before, but he said it was bizarre because of how realistic the whole thing felt. He fixed her boiler in the dream, chatted for a bit, and then left. About a week later his company gets a call from an elderly woman needing her boiler fixed. They send my dad on the job. When he arrived, he said it was the exact same house from his dream and the same old lady. He knew her name before he even had to ask and knew his way around the house without having gone inside yet. When she opened the door, she said, "Hi Gary," and when he asked how she already knew his name, she said she had a dream last week that her boiler broke and that my dad is the one who came to fix it, so she just knew that would be his name. Two complete strangers, never having met each other, had the exact same dream that they would meet each other, and they did. The whole thing is so crazy. LOL, out of all the things that people could have a premonitory shared dream of, it had to be a regular everyday event. When I was little, 6 years old, my parents took us to Disneyland in Florida. We went to go watch one of those shows with parrots. During the middle, I had to go to the bathroom, so my mom took me and left my dad and my sister to watch the show. When we came back, the entire stadium was empty, so we thought the show ended and we went back to the bathroom area to wait for my dad, thinking that's where he must have taken my sister since it's the only bathroom station in the area. We sat on the bench and waited for 2 hours before my mom gave up. This was pre-cell phone. The only remarkable thing during this time was that one of those iguana lizard things was fighting a squirrel behind the bench, and I watched that with great joy. I actually remember this. We did some other stuff, then went back to the hotel room to wait for them. The entire time my mom was annoyed at my dad, saying it's so irresponsible of him. A few hours after we got back to the hotel room, my dad and sister, who is a year younger than me, came back and obviously they started arguing, both saying they were waiting for the other at the bathroom. Me and my sister, on the hand, started telling each other about the lizard and squirrel we saw fighting. Apparently, both of us saw what happened from the same vantage point on that bench. My parents stopped to listen to us and asked us to clarify. We both saw the same lizard, same squirrel, fighting from the same point on the bench. It was one of those inexplicable occurrences, but they didn't give it further thought until me and my sister brought up the "remember that time we saw the lizard and squirrel fight?" and my mom was like, "Yeah, that was a weird day." It is one thing for this to have been some sort of crazy time-space anomaly, and that would be freaking crazy and awesome. But honestly, I really want this to just be you both waiting at the bathroom practically next to each other without realizing you were both there, because that crap is funny. I woke up from a dream where I died, and when I opened my eyes all I saw were faces all over the walls staring at me. It was terrifying. I got up from my bed and turned on the light. The faces didn't go away. I left the room and made sure I was awake. I wrote on my computer, drank some water, and when I went back in my bedroom the faces were gone. I believe this is a sleep hallucination, which I had another experience of as well. Was going to be late and was coming up with a story in order to avoid getting in trouble. Story I came up with is that as I was being pulled over by a cop for speeding, someone rear-ended him and it hit my vehicle. Had a pretty big dent in my truck, but no one knew what I drove yet as I was new to the job. 5 minutes later I got pulled over for going 75 in a 65 and lo and behold someone clipped the cop car and pushed the car into my truck. Ticket was excused. Boss told me it was okay. Got that bumper fixed for free and $1,000 from the dude's insurance company. The one who hit the cop car. And also naked women bathe me. Cross his fingers. I was waiting tables about 12 years ago, and my co-worker forgot to put in a food order for a 3-top table. He also forgot what the order was. I was laughing at him stressing out trying to figure it out, and I said it was probably fried mozzarella, a cheeseburger with no onions, and chicken fingers. I was completely joking, and that was their exact order. It freaked me out. I made him let me run the food to the table to make sure he wasn't fricking with me. This just happened quite recently. I was heading towards a place from a train station that was being remodeled and there's a huge chunk that's under construction. I got a bit lost in the area and my Google Maps was telling me that I should go through one path, but I couldn't since the whole area was basically off limits and I should take a detour. This was some busy underpass with people going to the platforms and there was one big temporary plywood wall with big signs of under construction, unauthorized access, forbidden, no entry. This part got weird. That plywood wall had a plywood door, and people were entering exiting it like a normal busy door. Completely normal looking people that looked like they don't belong in a construction area. Even some old woman entered it. So then I thought that the map is working fine, so I decided to go through the door, and it got even more weirder. On the other side was just a huge empty area, completely under construction. An area of sand, piles of gravel, some pillars and construction in the distance. The edge of the underpass was completely unfinished. I was really confused since I wasn't far behind the last person who went through the door and I had no idea where the guy went. There was no path. It didn't seem to look like there was some path where the people would have gone. There's a big gravel road in front of me going a bit to the side and the map was telling me to follow some similar path. So I thought maybe I should check it out a bit. Except frick no. A big Caterpillar tractor sped up along that road and I wasn't planning to walk near that. I saw the guy in the tractor looking at me confused, so the next thing I thought was to go back since I shouldn't even be here. I opened the door and a few people walking away to a platform looked at me weirdly like I did when I saw people entering the door. No one entered after I went through nor when I came out, so after that, I just had to take the detour since I was in a hurry anyway and forgot about it for the rest of the day. I was listening to my friend talk and he suddenly just lagged out, I guess. He sounded like a static phone and then repeated a couple of words. Sometimes I swear that lights flicker in whatever room I'm in. It's like someone turned all the present lights off simultaneously. I even asked those around me if they saw the lights turn off. I don't recall blinking any time this has happened either. I wonder if I have many nanosecond blackouts. It's people trapped in the upside down. When I was a kid, I had Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance. That game was hella hard for, I don't know, 8 years old me. There was a final boss, a spider, that was difficulty spike in an already difficult game, and I got stuck there. Then, one day, I lost the game. Since I hadn't finished it, and I really liked it, I convinced my parents to buy it again. I played and finished it. I was quite happy. Then, one day, in my grandparents' house, I found a Metroid Fusion cartridge. It had a single save file more or less around the spider boss. I thought I had 2 save files, but whatever. I had found my game. Fast forward a couple of years and I get a call from my great aunt. She was moving, and when removing some furniture, found a GBA cartridge, Metroid Fusion, that her grandson told her was mine. I didn't believe her, of course. I went to see it. Exactly. That was my original cartridge exactly as I remembered it. I have no idea where the cartridge I found at my grandparents' house came from. I asked every possible cousin. Not that we are too many, like 4, everyone I could think of, and nobody had ever owned the game. Heck, only one of them had a GBA. I'm sure there is a reasonable explanation, but I can't find it. I had a copy of Pokemon Ruby version flat out disappear. I know where I put it and no, nobody moved it. To this day it's still nowhere to be found. This happened in 2004. Was on a road trip with family once. We stayed at a hotel for a night. Our room was nothing more than 2 beds and a restroom with a biggest mirror on across from the beds. Everyone went to sleep but me. I stayed up playing a mobile game I was addicted to at the time. At about 2 AM I went to sleep. When I woke up, I noticed something was just ever so slightly off. The mirror was gone. The room had 2 separate bedrooms, and there were 3 beds. Apparently I was the only one who noticed it. BC my family called me crazy. Still confused as frick to this day as to what happened. A little backstory. My sister was born with heart complications and nobody thought she'd survive unless she went under a certain surgery, and even then she'd be heavily disabled and not live past 12. My mom told me that my grandmother prayed and asked for my sister to live and to take me instead. Please let her be healthy. She died August 2007 and my sister was born a few months later, same year. My sister lived without the surgery, is now 10, and is healthy as she can be. The doctors said they didn't know how it happened and called it a miracle. Now for the creepy part. One day my sister and mom were doing something, I don't remember, but my sister turns to my mom and says, "A long time ago, I was born in 19XX. Forgot the year. That was the year my grandmother was born." We never told her that. Another time she said her favorite food was X again. I can't remember. That was my grandma's favorite food. Again, never told her that. She did the same thing again except with my grandma's old home in Afghanistan. Never told her about that either. My sister doesn't even remember saying any of this. We asked. Then again she was really young when she said these, so maybe she legitimately forgot. Whatever the case, it's creepy but also interesting and a little heart-wrenching warming. Sister to live and to take me instead. Please let her be healthy. I thought that your grandma prayed that you, Scrimish, should die. SMH. I'm not too religious but these stories make me wanna pray right now. So creepy. As often as every couple days I'll vividly remember being exactly where I am as it is. It's at a different time, like repeating a cutscene in a video game. It's frequent enough I've repeatedly questioned the legitimacy of my existence. My friend and I were talking to our roommate and her girlfriend one night. Roommate had just received her new phone and was sitting in bed using it while the 4 of us chatted. So, roommate had sat her phone down while we were all chatting. She goes to pick it back up and it's gone. Like, she had just sat it down for a few minutes tops before she noticed that the thing has poofed. I call it for her and we can't hear it. We take the comforter and sheets off the bed and shake them all out. We look under the bed, behind it, everywhere we can. That phone is gone. Even though we hadn't left her room at all during our conversation when the phone disappeared, we tore apart the whole apartment trying to find it. Finally, we decide to try her car. It was in the locked trunk. We lived on the 3rd floor and were all in the same room watching her use it before it teleported. To this day I cannot explain what happened. Was watching TV with friends and we landed on some old 80s movie I used to watch over and over but hadn't seen in a long time. I had the dialogue memorized and it all instantly came back and I knew what was going to be said next. Here's the freaky part: we changed channels and kept trying to find something to watch. I noticed that everything we watched was the same. I knew every line of dialogue as if I was remembering it from having memorized it. These were all things I had never watched before. Here's the real freaky part. It started happening even when my friends were talking. An instant before they said anything, I knew word for word what they were saying. The effect only lasted an hour or so but it was bizarre. Same thing happens to me whenever I'm watching TV on edibles. I've even written lines down before they're said to prove it. My wife always thinks it's because I've seen the show, but I swear it even happens on things I've never seen before. Not sure if this counts. I went into sleep paralysis in my dorm room and heard my roommate ask if I wanted donuts and she started elaborating on donuts. I couldn't move, speak, or breathe the entire time. When I woke up, I asked her if she was talking to me about donuts. She says, "Number," but that's weird because my boyfriend just texted me pictures of a donut he just got. And then later that day some random people came up to me and offered me a free donut. Other dreams: I had a dream about a hamster running on a wheel. When I woke up my roommate said someone threw a hamster down the trash chute. I also had a dream about a white rat. And the next day my friend texts me that his white pet rat had died. I have this urge to send you a dozen donuts. When I was a teenager, I was in my room and decided to go to the kitchen to make a sandwich. I looked at the clock before I left, 6:48 PM, went to the kitchen, made an awesome sandwich, got some chips, and a drink. This probably took me at least 10 minutes. When I walked back into my room, the clock still said 6:48 PM. I stood there for a bit really confused, then it turned to 6:49. You've been visited by the all-seeing doggers. Good visions will come to you, but only if you comment "watch me puppers." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.